Okay, we will be start. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everyone. Good morning from Indonesia. Welcome back to the.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good morning from Indonesia. Welcome back to the 4th International Short Course Islamic Finance and Halal Industry. I'm Muhammadiyah as the moderator for today's international course, which held by Department of Development Economics, University of Muhammadiyah, Malang. We are very happy to welcome the all audience around the world for joining the course. Today we will discuss about Sharia investment and asset management. Before we go to the topic, let me introduce you our special guest, Muhammad Mahbubi Ali. He has finished his study for bachelor degree at Taskia University in Indonesia with field of study Sharia in finance, for master degree at International Center for Education in Islamic Finance in Malaysia, with field of study Islamic Finance, and for PhD degree at IIUM, Institute of Islamic Banking and Finance in Malaysia, with field of study Islamic Banking and Finance. His current position as Head of Economics, Finance, Wakaf, and Zakat, cum Associate Principal Fellow at the International Institute of Advanced Islamic Studies. So, I will explain a little about Sharia investment and asset management. Sharia investment is investment funds governed by the requirements of Sharia law and the principle of the Islamic religion. As we know that Indonesia, one of the country which has large Muslim population, many people interest to have an investment that having specific requirement desired by follower of the Islamic religion. So, without any further ado, please welcome Dr. Ali. How are you, Dr. Ali?
Alhamdulillah, great. Assalamualaikum. How are you, Dr. Firman? How are you, everyone?
I'm good.
Respected learners and participants.
May I call you Dr. Ali?
Normally, people call me Mahbubi, but you can call me Ali. You can call me Muhammad. At your convenience. Ya.
Okay.
Mana yang gampang kan? Ali lebih gampang.
Dr. Ali. Dr. Ali. Dr. Ali, may you share your screen?
Sure. Let me try to share screens. Okay. Can you see? What do you see here? I'm sharing. Let me share my slide. Can you see my slide?
Oh, yes.
Let me make it bigger. Is it now full screen?
Yeah. Dr. Ali, I will give you 20 until 30 minutes to present your presentation. Please.
30 minutes. I have 80
until 30 minutes.
80 slide, by the way, because I was informed by Dewi that my presentation will be about 1 hour.
Okay.
But okay, inshallah, we will have a middle approach, which is at least 45 minutes, inshallah. Then we will open for Q&A session. Thank you, Dr. Firman, for nice introduction. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very good morning, respected participant, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let us start our session today by recitation of Ummul Kitab Al-Fatiha. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki yaumiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghairil maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Amin. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer for having me here in this international short course on Islamic finance and halal industry, organized by the University of Muhammadiyah, Malang. It is indeed an honor to me to be among the distinguished learners, participants, guru, and professors. I'm currently based in Brunei Darussalam. Just moved from Malaysia, from Kuala Lumpur 2 months ago. I was in Malaysia for 12 years, since 2010, and holding various positions. The last position that I have, as mentioned earlier by our dear moderator, was the head of economics, finance, and Awqaf, as well as Zakah at the International Institute of Advanced Islamic Studies. I also serve as the Sharia advisor for various Islamic financial institutions, including the chairman for the Sharia Committee of Afin Islamic Bank until now. And I just joined the Central Bank of Brunei Darussalam as an Islamic finance expert since 1st September until now. And let me put a disclaimer, because I'm now wearing a head of regulator to some extent. So that's why I need to put a disclaimer that whatever opinion, views expressed in this sharing session, in this international short course, is not representing my organization in which I'm attached to. It is fully my personal views, and I'm responsible for my view. The topic given to me by the organizer is on the overview and introduction of Islamic investment and asset management from Sharia perspective. Inshallah, within 45 minutes, we will be discussing the Sharia principle in investment and asset management, and what are the various structure and instrument available in the market for investment and fund management. And also, to some extent, perhaps due to limitation of time, we may want to need to highlight some operational aspect of Islamic investment and some Sharia issues surrounding the practice. This is generally the outline of our discussion. And just to share with you, normally this outline, this slide I use for training in Indonesia, in Brunei, in Malaysia for two days. Yeah, for 2 days. So I have around 170 plus slide, but I have tried to shorten the slide. Now it is around 80 slide to be covered within 45 minutes. Inshallah, within the limitation of time and in the interest of time, we try to discuss the basic and the core aspect of the Islamic investment and fund management without going through to the operation and issues. But if you have any question, feel free to drop your question in the chat box available, or you can interject me at any point of time, and you can also keep your question until the presentation end. Okay. First, let me bring you to the landscape of the global Islamic finance that we have so far, at least up to 2020. That's the data reported by the ICIFHI definitive report. So you can see here the size of the asset from different sectors, including Islamic banking, sukuk, other Islamic financial institutions, including the pension fund, mortgage, pawn broking, Islamic fund, takaful, as well as equity market under the other Islamic financial institution. And looking at the share, 70% of the asset of Islamic finance globally is concentrated in the Islamic banking sector. So Islamic banking sector is the main catalyst for the Islamic financial asset globally. While sukuk contributed to 18% of the total asset of Islamic finance, and other Islamic financial institutions, including Islamic fund, contributed a smaller portion. And the smallest contribution toward the Islamic financial asset is takaful or Islamic insurance, which only contributed to 2% of the total global total financial asset in Islamic finance. So in a nutshell, basically, the leading market share is Islamic banking sector, while the smallest contributor to the Islamic financial landscape is takaful. And overall, our global market share is very small compared to conventional financial asset, which only contributed not more than 2%. And the good thing is that what they call the development of Islamic financial institution across sector can be seen in various countries, not less than 72 countries, including non-Muslim countries. If we zoom in to the data into the Indonesian context, yeah, because I believe some of participants, perhaps most of the learners here are from Indonesia, our market share of Islamic finance in Indonesia from different sectors is only standing at 10.19%, at least up to the data issued by the Financial Stability Authority by end of September 2021 last year. And if we zoom in into a specific sector, like banking sector, for example, the Islamic banking sector comprise only 6.52% in terms of the market share compared to the conventional banking system. And the Islamic capital market contribute around 17.88% compared to the conventional capital market as a whole that cover not only equity but also sukuk and mutual fund. So in total, basically, we have 10.19% market share of Islamic finance in Indonesia, with only 6.52%, or perhaps around 7% now on the Islamic banking sector. Also, of course, it is still very small, but the growth is promising from time to time. And we introduced Islamic banking in 1993. Yeah, so we have reached 30 years of the from the introduction of Islamic banking in Indonesia, since the inception of Bank Muamalah Indonesia in 1992, with only 6.52% of market share. If you compare to Malaysia, for example, Malaysia introduced Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad as the first Islamic bank in Malaysia in 1983, 10 years before Indonesia. So we have basically developed and introduced Islamic finance for the past 40 years until now, and the market share is 40%. So on average, the growth of Islamic finance compared to conventional finance in Malaysia is 1% per annum. Yeah, the growth of market share. Yeah, so that after 40 years, we reach 40% of market share. So if we use the same pattern and trend, yeah, like Malaysia, Indonesia should achieve at least 30% of market share. But now our market share is still below 10%. So I think this our homework as the Islamic finance activist, Islamic finance educator, Islamic finance student. Yeah, how to accelerate the Islamic finance market share, especially the banking sector in the context of our country or Indonesia. Okay, now let us move to the gist of discussion. So we started with numbers so that we have an idea on the current market that we have, so that we can see the potential, the opportunity for us to invest and to manage our fund in the Sharia compliant investment and asset management in Indonesia and beyond. Now, what is the concept of investment in Islam? So investment is defined as an act of putting money or capital in an enterprise with the expectation of profit. Yeah, with the expectation of profit. So from the Islamic point of view, the investment is deemed as an Islamic finance, Islamic investment if the manner is done in a way that it does not violate Sharia principle. It is established based on the Sharia principles and values. It is structured based on Sharia contract, and the process are also operating under the purview of the Sharia with the supervision of the Sharia advisor. So the classical jurists normally discuss the concept of investment and under the purview, the umbrella of the concept of musyarakah or mudarabah, the profit and loss sharing concept, or the partnership contract or equity contract to some extent we call it. And another relatively new and equivalent terminology for investment is istithmar. Istithmar is the Arabic word which is derived from a root word thamara, which means fruit. So when it comes to istismar with the addition of alif, sinta, then it becomes talabus thamra, is seeking of fruit. Because when you put your money into an investment, basically you are seeking a fruit in the form of profit, dividend, or even capital gain. This why in Arabic term we call istithmar, is an act of seeking a fruit. Seeking a fruit in the form of return, in the form of income, in the form of additional asset. So the core principle of Islamic investment is basically to achieve justice, equity, and investment and fairness reflected into different Sharia contract. That's why the Sharia contract founded in the Sharia is basically intended to achieve the justice and fairness. That's why the Sharia scholar developed a legal maxim, very famous legal maxim, called al-aslu fil uqud kulluha al-adl. The basic principle in contract, all of it is the fairness. So the contract should basically manifest the concept of fairness and justice for the contracting parties. That's why in partnership contract, for example, in equity contract, a person should not be held liable, or the risk should not be transferred only to one party, to be borne by only one party with the at the profit of other party, because it violates the basic principle of fairness and justice to contracting parties. That's why to perfect the concept of justice and fairness in the contract, then the Sharia lists down specific prohibition and provide certain Sharia contract. For example, the Sharia prohibit the payment and receipt of interest or riba, because from the Sharia point of view, it is deemed injustice, to contracting parties, because the moment you impose fixed interest in the investment, you assume that in all situations, in all circumstances, your investment will generate fruit or return. While in business, as the nature of business, it can be at the loss position and it can be at the profit position. If it is profit, then the profit will be shared in accordance to profit sharing ratio. If it is loss, you could not impose a loss to be borne by only one party, because it is against the very basic principle of justice. Speculation or gambling, in Arabic term we call maisir or qimar, are also prohibited in the Sharia in the investment activities, because it goes against the basic principle of uncertainty, fairness, and equity. Avoiding prohibited commodities, impure item or substance, the uncertainty are also prohibited, and the Sharia basically encourage, even require the application of the risk reward principle, where the reward can only be realized if there is a taking of risk. There is a risk that is borne by always commensurate with the risk as per the legal maxims that is derived from hadith al-kharaj bid-daman or al-gunmu bil-warmi, where the profit should be proportionate with the risk that the person assumed. That's why in investment axiom, there is a very famous axioms: high risk, high return. So to perfect the risk reward principle, the Sharia introduced what we call award. Award is basically the counter value for the profit that you expect. So as for an investor to expect a return, then it should have some counter value, yeah, some risk in the form of effort, in the form of liability, in the form of risk as well, so that it can justify the profit. So the profit should always be followed by the variable of award, either in the form of effort, like in ijara, yeah, like in the concept of leasing, service provider, or in the form of risk by putting your fund in investment, or as well as the liability. So these risk reward metric, yeah, in the context of investment. So if the return is high, then the risk can be also high risk, high return, then it is acceptable from the Sharia point of view. The low risk, low return, it is also acceptable. Yeah, if you want to manage your risk into very low punya scenario, then you can only expect a low return. Yeah, that's why normally investor who is risk averse will prefer to put their fund into fixed income instrument, yeah, like deposit, sukuk, especially if it is structured based on a fixed based contract like ijara or sale based contract murabah. Low risk, high return, it is also acceptable, meaning that you manage your risk, you manage your investment professionally, so that with the risk, with the minimal risk, you can generate a high return. But on the other hand, if you assume high risk, but the return is very low, then it is unfavorable. There is something wrong in the management of the fund. Zero risk, but the return, but you expect return, it is unacceptable. This is where the concept of riba is prohibited, because you only expect return with what they call with no risk, yeah, without any bearing any risk resulting from the credit risk, yeah, from the risk of your fund in the investment or investment risk. High risk but no return, you assume high risk but no return, even loss, then there is a problem with the management. Yeah, you are doing mismanagement. Okay, these some of the underlying contract of Islamic investment. So the Sharia provide a range of Sharia principle and contract for you to invest, yeah, in a Sharia compliant manner, either using an exchange based contract like murabah. Murabah is a sale based contract at markup, or ijara, leasing based contract, like in the context of sukuk. Normally the sukuk is structured based on sukuk ijara. In the case of Indonesia and Middle East, the salam contract for agriculture is a forward sale contract, or istisna is manufacturing sale contract. So these sale-based contract can be structured for investment activities, yeah, in the real sector, or in the financial instrument like sukuk as well. Partnership contract like mudharabah or musyarakah, which is founded on the best concept of risk-sharing and risk-sharing, or equity contract or agency based on wakala, especially wakala bil istithmar, agency for investment. Yeah, so this basically in a nutshell the various Sharia contract that we can use to structure different Islamic investment product. So what are the methodology and technique for investment? So we can use either direct investment or indirect investment. Direct investment, you can do business, you can form partnership with others, or even you put your fund directly to buy gold, and you keep the gold for a certain period with the expectation of the appreciation in the value or price of gold. Indirect investment, where you invest your fund not directly to the real sector, rather you use the facility of financial intermediaries via banking or through financial market like Islamic capital market. So this is basically the overview of the flow of fund via financial systems where basically the financial systems, be it banking sector or capital market sector or financial market, basically an intermediary to connect between the surplus unit and deficit unit. So the deficit unit will borrow money from financial intermediary like banking, or borrow money via the issuance of, for example, share or sukuk via in the financial market, so that the sukuk, the share, will be bought by, purchased by the surplus unit. Yeah, either it is individual, business firm, government, or even foreign investors. Now, this is how basically the investment work via financial system, be it via financial intermediary like banking, or via financial market directly in stock, or a pool of stock like mutual fund, or even sukuk. Yeah, even if you put your money in financial intermediary like banking, your money will also be further invested into financial market. Yeah, at least to certain extent. Yeah, to some portion of your fund. So financial market can be divided into two. One is money market, instrument money market. The second one is capital market. Yeah, pasar modal dan pasar uang. What is the difference between the two? In terms of the asset, normally capital market deal with medium and long-term financial asset. Yeah, like share, like equity, like stock. Yeah, be it in the individual stock or in mutual fund. So for your information, in Indonesia, our market capitalization of Islamic stock listed under indeks saham syariah gabungan is 4.416 triliun, 4,416 trillion. Yeah, based on the data issued by the Financial Authority in August 2022. This figure represent 47% of the market share. Yeah, compared to the conventional stock. Jadi dari sisi aset, we have 47% market share. It's quite big. In terms of the number of stock, we have 523 stock listed under Islamic stock. Jadi ada 523 masuk saham syariah. Yeah, that give you an option to invest in different Sharia compliant stock. So 523, 523 Islamic stock basically represent 57% yeah, of the number of stock in Indonesia. Yeah, so the option is there. You have the investable universe, which is larger than the conventional. Yeah, because 57% of the stock in terms of the number, yeah, which comprise 523 stock is already Sharia compliant. So there is no reason for the Muslim investors to excuse not to invest in Sharia compliant stock because there is no sufficient number of Islamic stock available in the market. But Indonesia, we have so many. In Malaysia, the Sharia compliant security or stock even represent more than 60%. Yeah, sometimes it reach 80%. Yeah, 77%. Depend, because the list of stock will be revised from time to time after 6 months, because some stock which is previously Sharia compliant will be further reclassified into Sharia non-compliant due to a breach of certain threshold. We'll see later on the Sharia stock screening methodology to determine the Sharia compliant stock. So in terms of the type of asset, it is normally for long term, but money market normally for short term. Yeah, especially the money market is an instrument that that is normally used by the financial institution for liquidity management. Yeah, like interbank money market. Yeah, interbank Islamic money market. In Indonesia, we have PUAS, pasar uang antar bank syariah. So where the excess of liquidity can put their money in the money market to be traded and to be sold to the bank, to the financial institution who are suffering with the liquidity. Use of finance, normally capital market will be used for fixed and working capital, while money market, the finance provided under money market is utilized for working capital only. In terms of maturity of asset, because it is for short term, of course, money market, the maturity of the asset is normally less than 1 year, while the capital market is normally more than 1 year. Even for stock, it is an ongoing concern which does not have maturity period. So you can put your stock during your lifetime, even after your demise. The connecting link in the capital market, it is an act of a link between the investor and the entrepreneur, the investor and the company who is managing your share, your sukuk, while money market is a link between the depositor and the borrower, among the banks. So what is the Islamic investment fund? So fund are investment vehicle which are financially independent of the institution that established them. So it is basically a joint pool where the investor contribute their surplus of money for the purpose of investment to earn the Sharia compliant profit, the legitimate profit in strict compliance with the Sharia principle. So Islamic fund is a pool of fund, be it is a pool of stock, we call equity fund, or it is a pool of bond, we call fixed income fund in conventional, or it can be also a pool of Islamic bond, or we call sukuk, simply called sukuk, under fixed income fund. And we have money market fund, money market fund, which is a pool of money market instrument. So the term investment fund may cover the unit investment trust, unit trust, we call in Indonesia reksadana syariah, collective investment vehicle, collective investment scheme, mutual fund, managed fund. The term may vary, but the substance is the same, where the fund manager normally provide the instrument, the vehicle, the platform for you to invest in a pool of different fund, Jadi ada progressive fund, biasanya it depend on the securities basically that you are subscribing. Be it you use MNC securities, Mandiri securities, CMB securities, and they offer different unit trust, different fund, be it in Islamic or in conventional. So this the type of Islamic investment fund. We have equity fund, where the share, where it is a pool of share in of listed and unlisted company. We have money market fund, sukuk fund, combining sovereign and corporate sukuk. Sovereign means government sukuk. Or we have also private equity and venture capital fund, Islamic REIT, where your fund will be invested in diversified pool of property, real estate instrument, mixed fund, mixture of fund, where your money will be invested into different fund consisting of equity, sukuk, Islamic money market instrument, so that the risk is diversified. As part of the investment diversification portfolio, based on the what they call the investment axiom. Don't put your egg in one basket. Jangan letakkan telur kamu dalam satu basket, so that kalau satu jatuh tidak semuanya, yang lain tidak semua jatuh. Balance fund is a hybrid of equity and fixed income fund, where the fund will be invested into both share and sukuk, or index fund like ETF, exchange trade fund, where the share are totally or partially representing constituent of the selected index in order to replicate the performance of the index. So in a nutshell, basically all the unit trusts or mutual fund or investment fund are variation of the three asset classes. Di semua ini yang banyak ini ada equity, money market, sukuk, semuanya ini. It is basically a variation of three asset classes: equity, fixed income, and money market. Itu yang the three punya main punya instrument or main punya fund. So what are the difference between Islamic and conventional fund? First, the investable universe. Yeah. So if I ask you which one is providing wider avenue to invest, it is Islamic or it is conventional for the investor. So basically, the Islamic fund, in my humble understanding, provide better investable universe. Because why? Because both conventional investor, yeah, and Islamic investor can invest into an Islamic, while the Muslim investor cannot invest into the conventional fund. So if you are offering Islamic fund, then you can attract more both conventional and Muslim investor. But if you offer conventional fund, then you most probably you can only attract the conventional investor. Muslim investor may not invest because of course some Muslim also invest in conventional, regardless of their religious punya reason. The second differences is the role of Sharia advisor. In the Islamic fund, you need a dedicated, appointed Sharia advisor to supervise your fund. In Malaysia, Indonesia, normally the Sharia advisor is a company or sometimes individual. Yeah, but for the fund, biasanya kalau di Malaysia, we leverage on the company punya advisor. Purification, yeah. In conventional fund, all the income that the fund receive are recognized as their income. But in Islamic fund, there is a purification mechanism where the investor is required to purify the income portion from Sharia non-compliant activities. Even, for example, if the stock is listed under Sharia compliant stock, but still the company may also involve into the Sharia non-compliant activities, but it is listed because it is within the tolerable level of the Sharia non-compliant portion. But from the investor point of view, you are still required to purify the dividend, the capital gain, or the profit, yeah, representing the portion of Sharia non-compliant activities, and also the fee structure. Here's some of the parties involved in the Islamic fund manager. We have Sharia unit, fund manager, fund administrator, compliant officer, distributor, and not to forget the Sharia unit is the main function which differentiate it with the conventional one, and we have also the Sharia advisor. So the contractual relation in Islamic fund management, it is based on musyarakah, the equity partnership contract among the unit holder, and it is also structured based on the concept of buy, sell, and purchase between the unit holder and unit trust company, where the unit holder will purchase from the unit trust company certain fund, yeah, certain fund at their punya convenience. And we have wakala, agency, mudharabah, profit and loss bearing, profit sharing and loss bearing, and musyarakah, equity contract between the manager and unit holder. And we have wadi and domana, safekeeping with guarantee for between the unit holder and the manager as custodian or trustee. So different parties may establish different contractual relation, yeah, based on the nature of the rules and capacity. So the Sharia requirement in the fund management, in the asset management, is the rule of the need for the rule of Sharia Supervisory Board, the need for Sharia screening as to whether the fund is Sharia compliant or otherwise, based on the Sharia stock screening methodology that you adopted. If you are in Indonesia, then you adopt the Sharia stock screening methodology established by the Dewan Syariah Nasional. If you are in Malaysia, then you apply the Sharia stock screening methodology introduced by the Securities Commission. If you are in other countries like Middle East or even US and UK, maybe you can adopt a different Sharia stock screening methodology like Dow Jones, FTSE, and other. And even the ICIFHI, yeah, the ICIFHI standard. And purification of income is also another area in the fund management, in the investment, where a portion of Sharia non-compliance should be purified by channeling it to charitable body or for charitable purposes. And also there is a need for zakah calculation. There is an obligation of zakah. Yes, you can invest, you can maximize your profit, but you need to remember that a portion of your profit, of your wealth, it has a right of other people. In your asset, in your wealth, in your investment, there is a portion of needy, poor that you need to also taking care under the purview of zakat. How many time left to me, Pak Firman? Otherwise, I stop here. So basically, the second part is the different instrument of Islamic investment fund, like sukuk, like equity, including the preference share. Of course, if I have time, I'm happy to share also other type of fund, type of the investment fund, like private equity, ETF, REIT, and other. Dr. Firman, if the times is over, then I
15 minutes left.
Oh, still 15 minutes left. Very good. Alhamdulillah. Thank you. Okay, let me now go through to the more specific and detailed discussion on the different type of different instrument for Islamic investment. Earlier we have highlighted equity, share, sukuk, and other type of investment. Now let us start with the Islamic equity market. So this is basically the overall Islamic equity market. So we have the stock exchange platform, and under stock exchange platform, we have the universe of the Sharia compliant stock, where the investor will invest in these different Sharia compliant stock, and also in other type of fund like mutual fund. Yeah, either the invest on individual stock or the invest in the different fund pool of the securities, and the Islamic mutual fund, Islamic ETF for the index, Islamic REIT for the real estate property, or Islamic private equity or joint venture. So there are a different type of share or stock. First, we call ordinary share. Ordinary share is a normal share that is raised by the company for the capital injection, for the capital expansion. And we have preference share, which give a preference to the shareholder, unlike ordinary share. We'll be discussing the detail of the preference share. So the main feature of the preference share is by its name is the preference in the event of dividend, where the preference shareholder will be given a priority in the dividend distribution, as well as the refund of the capital in the event of liquidation, winding up, and bankruptcy. But of course, on the other hand, the preference share, unlike ordinary shareholder, does not have any feature of voting right. Bonus share is basically a share which is given by the company for free, based on the number of the share that you have already owned, yeah, from the existing companies. For example, if you have telecom, yeah, share of telecom, and the telecom, due to the good performance, will provide you on top of dividend the bonus share. Yeah, the bonus share based on a number of share that yeah, you hold, yeah, a number of unit that you have, and the number of lot that you have. Yeah, see, for example, 10% of the total lot whatsoever. Right issue, basically where the company is experiencing the liquidity problem, they may need more capital, then they raise the issue more share, so that the share can be bought by the investor in the secondary market, and the proceed will be used for meeting their liquidity problems. And this right issue is basically offered to the existing shareholder, existing investor, to purchase a right to purchase the share to be issued, an additional share to be issued by the existing company at the discounted price. At the discounted price, and then you have a right whether to exercise or not to exercise. Okay. So how the share is issued? Of course, the share will be issued under the IPO, the initial public offering in the primary market, yeah, primary market, and then once the the share is issued under IPO, then it will be sold in the secondary market to be sold and traded in the stock exchange platform. So the IPO will allow the company the acquisition of the large amount of cash for the company growth, hiring of talents, marketing, expanding the product and services. But of course, the IPO will incur so many costs and put restriction on the company strategy and involve requirement for public disclosure. Because again, when you decided to IPO your company, then the company is no longer owned and controlled by certain shareholder, but it is now owned by public, yeah, holding the share even only for one lot. And it also incur capital and human resources cost and in executing an IPO. So what is the Islamic perspective of share? Of course, common share are the contractual form permitted by the Sharia under the purview of musyarakah, where all the shareholder, the investor, when we purchase the share, basically they contribute the capital for the company. They own the company. So buying a share is basically buying a company, and you are involving in the project of the company, in the business of the company. So for that matter, because you own the company, you are also liable for any profit, for any loss that the company may suffer that result into, for example, the absence of dividends, the depreciation of your value of the share, yeah, where you may have a floating loss or even realized loss if you dispose of your share. So most of the Muslim jurists are of the view that the share is permissible based on the consideration that the share is basically a reflective of one property, one asset to the company. So the owner of the share has an exclusive right to sell the share as long as it does not harm other shareholder. And the second justification is that because the share is free from uncertainty, as the price is established based on market value, based on market force, demand, and supply. And the ICIFHI Academy in 1992 also approved the concept of joint stock company. So this more explanation on the Sharia principle in share, that share certificate signify a form of capital contribution in a company. So the investor is basically the owner of the company, and this contribution is in the form of a musyarakah or mudarabah and can be sold at any price as it represents the asset owned by the company. The profit of the for the investor in the share can be either in the form of capital gain, where there is a appreciation in the value of the share, or in terms of dividend, or both. Yeah, and investment in the share is a direct contribution to an ownership of the business, and as such is acceptable provided the Sharia principle are observed. Now let us move to the Sharia stock screening methodology. So not all shares are listed under Sharia compliant share. Only the share that have fulfilled certain requirement, looking at two perspectives according to the different Sharia methodology. First is we call qualitative perspective, qualitative approach. The second one is quantitative approach. From the qualitative approach, like in the context of Indonesia, the share of the company will be classified under Sharia compliance share if the core business activities does not fall under the prohibited activities like gambling, trading that is prohibited by the Sharia, ribawi financial service authority like banking, insurance, what they call producing, distributing, trading, and providing services. They are prohibited because of the content. Yeah, even the cinema. Yeah, is not classified under Sharia compliant share. Transaction that contain the bribery, this from the core business. But also there is a consideration of quantitative ratio, because it is very difficult to have a company which 100% Sharia compliant activities. Then normally the Sharia scholar in different jurisdiction might have different tolerable level. In the case of Indonesia, the tolerable level for the contribution of revenue from Sharia non-compliant portion in the company should not exceed 10% of the total revenue of the asset. Total revenue of the company. Jadi pendapatannya tidak boleh ada 10% atau lebih 10% dari tidak patuh syariah. So misalnya company ini, the holding company has different punya project, different punya business ABC, and yang satunya itu ada yang tidak syariah. The contribution from non syariah should not more than 10%. Of course, other jurisdiction like Indonesia, other stock trading methodology like Dow Jones FTSE only put 5%. So Indonesia is relatively more lenient in this respect. Now, another parameter is that the ratio of the interest-based liability to the total asset. Yeah, the ratio of the interest-based liability of the company. See, for example, the loan from the conventional, the placement from in the conventional over the total asset should not more than 45%. Yeah. So case of Indonesia, 45% and 10% ratio. Other jurisdiction may have different ratio, like ICIFHI, for example, they put 5%. Yeah, so the contribution from Sharia non-compliant activity should not more than 5%. Yeah, and then what they call the another quantitative ratio is on the contribution of the interest bearing liabilities and the placement over total asset should not more than 30%, while Indonesia allow until 45%. Of course, all the number are based on ijtihad and we have a detailed discussion why 5%, why 20%, why 30%. These all ijtihad and there is a basis for it. In Malaysia, this is the revised screening methodology. So they allow 5%, 10%, 5% and 20% only. Yeah, 5%, 20%. So the core business activity is the same, should be Sharia compliant, should not involve any activities which is clearly Sharia non-compliant. And also in terms of the quantitative methodology, quantitative ratio, they use 5% and 20%. 5% from the contribution of the Sharia non-compliant activities like interest-bearing activities, while 20% is basically the revenue from the rental activities, from the Sharia compliant rental. In terms of the second tier of the ratio, the cash, the Sharia compliant cash, which is receivable or deposit, or Sharia compliant debt, which is interest bearing liability, over total asset should not exceed 33%. Yeah, how if you use 30%, Malaysia use 33%, Indonesia use 45%. Yeah, and then also there is a qualitative assessment on the image of the company and the perception. So this is basically the global stock screening methodology. Yeah, on top of Malaysia that we have in Indonesia, we have Dow Jones, FTSE, MSCI, Standard and Poor, and Kuwait Finance House. So normally they are looking into two components. One is core business activities, should not involve non-permissible activities. So kalau misalnya company-nya operate in pork production, then from the very beginning it is excluded from Sharia compliant stock. But in terms of the another ratio, the use the ratio of 33% over total asset. Yeah, over total asset, and some use over market capitalization depending on the Sharia stock screening provider. Interestingly, Kuwait Finance House has a different approach. Kuwait Finance House only recognize or consider the qualitative approach, the core business activities, and they put zero tolerance to interest received and interest paid. So if you are adopting the Kuwait Finance House methodology, then the stock that has a Sharia compliant portion will be excluded from Sharia compliant share, from the list of Sharia compliant. Because why? Because the Kuwait Finance House is the only stock screening provider which given zero tolerance to the Sharia non-compliant portion. This is an illustration. See, for example, if the portion of interest income to group is 220 over 2 million, where that represent 11%, while percent of non-halal to group PBT 24,000 over 500. So if we use a benchmark for interest income, yeah, for interest incomes, then which is 5%, yeah, that company will be classified under Sharia non-compliant company because the contribution from interest income exceed 5% benchmark, yeah, which is 11% here. Even if we are using Indonesian approach, ini masih tidak Sharia compliant because it is more than 10%. Okay. Also, the contribution from non-halal to groups hanya 4.8%, tapi looking at the contribution of interest, then it is still considered as Sharia non-compliant. Now, if the share is classified into Sharia non-compliant share, then there is what they call an income disposal of Sharia non-compliant stock. Ya, jadi kalau misalnya assume that you keep Sharia compliant share, Telkom contohnya, atau Hydro, suddenly the Financial Services Authority announce after 6 months that the respective share is not Sharia compliant. Now, what is the status of the share? What should be done by the investor? So the investor need to look at the existing price of the share that you are keeping. See, for example, here, you are buying Telkom on 29 May, yeah, at the price of 4,000. Tak tahu sekarang harganya berapa. Later on 29 June, the regulator announced that the Telkom is Sharia non-compliant. So kena jual atau tak? See whether the price at the point of announcement is lower or higher or equivalent to the your punya initial investment. If the price is higher at the point of announcement, the price is 4,100, then you are required to dispose immediately. Why? Because you have already covered your principal, and all the capital gain that you enjoy, if you sell immediately, you can still be entitled to keep the capital gain. Yeah, because why? Because that capital gain is derived from the date where the share is still Sharia compliant. On the other hand, if the value of the Telkom at the point of announcement is lower than the initial investment, say for example the price is dropping to 3,800, then you can still keep your Telkom. There is no need, yeah, for immediate disposal until the price cover at least the initial investment. At least the initial investment, which is 4,000. Now, if you still keep, yeah, you still keep your share, and suddenly the share increase significantly, dramatically, sampai harga 4.600. While your initial investment 4.000, the price at the announcement of reclassification is 4,100. So berapa yang kena purify? See, for example, you are deciding to sell at 1st October. So under income purification mechanism, then you are obliged to purify up to 500 per unit, yeah, per unit. Dari mana 500? 500 is basically the current price, which is 4,600, minus the price at the point of announcement. Because ketika sudah di-announce and reclassify, then your initial investment is at the point of announcement. Yeah, if it is higher. This way you need to purify. Yeah, but as long as the price is below the initial price, the initial investment, then you can keep until it can recover your principal. It is based on the substantive divine verse, wa in tubtum falakum ru'usu amwalikum. If you repent from Sharia non-compliant investment activities, then you are still entitled to keep your principal. So this is basically the income purification mechanism that you share. And another type of share we call preference share, which is a point of contention. And there are some Sharia issues because we have a different punya what they call different features, yeah, compared to the share. because we have dividend preference, cumulative preference, redemption, conversion, voting right, which may trigger Sharia compliant issue. I believe my time is over now, Dr. Harman. I don't have time to cover everything, but we'll share with you the slide. It's quite comprehensive and detailed slide on the different type of Islamic preference share, and how do you structure the preference share in Sharia compliant manner without any way violating the Sharia principle. Although the ICIFHI Sharia standard, of course, disapprove the issuance of Islamic preference share due to the Sharia violation and in their features and structure, because it goes against the Sharia principle of fairness in musyarakah contract. So the principle of tanazul, for example, is introduced in the concept of preference share, especially in the context of Malaysia, to justify the dividend preference, the liquidation preference, other. And then the last part is basically discussed on the concept of sukuk. These some of the sukuk structure, sukuk experience in the different countries. Like 13 countries have experience in both sovereign and corporate sukuk, Bahrain, Brunei, including Indonesia, and countries only experience in sovereign sukuk or quasi-sovereign sukuk in Bangladesh, and 25 countries does not have any experience in sukuk. And this is the definition of sukuk. So the term sukuk is not something new basically in Islam. It has been used since the 1st century during the Umayyad Khalifah. So at that time, sukuk known as sukukul bada'i, which refer to grain or commodity coupon that was used to pay the soldier. The soldier can present this coupon to collect the grain upon the maturity. Yeah, and some soldiers sold this sukuk prior its maturity to obtain cash. So this we call early redemption. Yeah, you sell your sukuk to the market before maturity. So the practice of early redemption has been basically practiced during the Umayyad time in the 1st century, and the term sukuk was also used at that time, and it is a plural term from the word sok, yeah, which means the certificate, and it is used in English, yeah, as the term check. So check itu sebenarnya from sok, yeah, from sok, or and then the plural term is sukuk. This is the evolution of sukuk. Unfortunately, I don't have enough time to cover everything in a detail, but we'll share with you the slide, and we can have a further discussion, inshallah, over outside this session, if possible. And you can, I can share with you this number and my email address as well. Yeah, because I also share here on the different type of sukuk, yeah, especially on the development of green sukuk in Indonesia, in Indonesian practice, and other countries like Malaysia, and other type of sukuk, as well as the ICIFHI criticism toward the contract of sukuk, like Sheikh Taqi Uthmani in 1928, for example, and now that 85% of the sukuk in the Middle East structured based on musyarakah or equity is not Sharia compliant. And this also discussed in this slide. With that, thank you very much for your kind attention. I hope that this serves as the introductory remark for the fruitful discussion moving forward in this forum or beyond, inshallah. So if you have any further discussion later on, if that cannot be covered in this respective session, please feel free to email me or contact me through WhatsApp, yeah, so that we can have more chat and discussion, inshallah. With that, over to you, Dr. Moderator, Dr. Firman. Thank you very much for your kind attention. My apologies for not be able to cover everything within 45 minutes. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Dr. Ali, for this sharing sessionnya. We have several questions. The first question, in the development and challenge of the predict recession in 2023, Indonesia include in 15 countries that have impact on recession. How does asset management respond about this? You can direct answer.
I think we can. How many questions do you have?
Four.
Oh, four. Yeah, I think you can just list down the questions so that I can keep in. Okay. The second question.
Oh, the second question. The second, how does asset management in the development efforts to enrich the monetary side in developing countries, especially in Indonesia?
Okay. Third.
What are the prospects for Sharia investment in Indonesia in the future?
Okay. Fourth.
Fourth, the last, change in the banking and finance system leading to digitalization. How's asset management responding to this?
Okay. Thank you very difficult question, Dr. Firman. By the way, I'm no economist. I have to tell frankly, I'm no economist. Yeah, saya bukan ahli ekonomi. That's why I have to admit that I'm not the right person to respond to this very difficult question, looking into the future prospect of the economy, the crisis, the global. Because my background is basically Sharia. I was in pesantren for almost 10 years, and then study Sharia and Islamic finance. So I understand mostly on the Sharia aspect and issues, as well as the operation in the Islamic financial institution, product, structure, instrument, issues, and others. So if you ask me on the global landscape to predict and to see my view, I think I have to surrender. I'm not the right person for that. I think Dr. Firman is the best person to respond to you. Dr. Firman mungkin bisa membantu saya menjawab. Cuman mungkin sedikit ya saya boleh respon apa yang saya mampu. Tetapi saya harus mengakui bahwa saya tidak hadir dari background ekonomi. Saya orang syariah yang kebetulan diberikan kesempatan untuk belajar Islamic finance. Ya, sehingga kalau bicara dari perspektif makro, saya harus akui I'm not really in the area. Yeah, I'm not really in the area. So, but you can ask me on the structure of Islamic fund and investment, the operation, the Sharia issues, the Sharia concern, and then the existing punya platform, the existing punya infrastructure whatsoever. Okay. Now, so the first question is how basically the asset management, yeah, is responding to the global crisis, yeah, that may happen or may not happen. Yeah, I believe Indonesia is a country where we are fortunate, yeah, not to rely heavily to the financial market, to the capital market in particular. We are very strong in real sector. We are very strong in microfinance. Yeah. So most of our asset is basically concentrated into real sector. That's why, if you can see, even this is the good news for the Islamic fund management, Islamic asset management in Indonesia. Last week or last 2 weeks, our composite index itu adalah IHSG, indeks harga saham gabungan, was awarded or was recognized as the world or the best index globally. Jadi indeks saham paling bagus secara global Indonesia. We have participants from other countries here. Please invest in my country. Because you see, we have a strong fundamental in share, in stock. Yeah, because our punya real sector, our company, our country is very strong in the area. So I believe, yeah, from my point of view, my humble point of view, yes, we can expect another recession coming in, yeah, to the world, including and with no exception to Indonesian market. But I have a confidence that Indonesia can sustain with this crisis, because we have long experience. Last 2 years, we also faced recession, but we recover very fast. Yeah, and until now, we are recognized as the best stock market globally in terms of the performance. So yang lain jatuh, Dow Jones jatuh semua, Indonesia still growing. And our punya composite index now is still at the uptrend punya position. So yes, I admit that now I'm I'm holding a position as regulator whatsoever, but also I'm actively involving in the stock market as a failed investor, as the investor with in some cases suffer loss, yeah, due to the market condition. But still the trend now is uptrend. I can see our index now is around 70,000 7,000, yeah, dia punya composite, and still at the uptrend punya movement, at least in the medium to long term. Okay, so the effect, yes, we will be affected by the global crisis, by the recession, as the part of the global community, but I believe Indonesia, as usual, can sustain, yeah, and can recover very fast from the crisis, and we have proven this, and we now are preparing with this. So the asset management, yes, may be affected. Even the stock market will be affected, of course, heavily. I remember in 2020, yeah, in 2020 when the COVID-19 hit the country, not only the country but globally, the stock market experienced the worst punya depreciation, yeah, one of the worst depreciation after the Great Depression kan, dia sampai ditutup tahun Maret 2020. Akhirnya kemudian setelah itu the trading punya hours is shortened until now, and then the short selling punya feature is suspended until now, yeah, resulting from this kind of situation. And also the auto reject atas and bawah, yeah, the auto reject ARB and ARA has been shortened, has been minimized. Dulu, if you invest in Indonesia, you will not be restricted into the price, the movement of the price of your stock. It is basically up to the market force. Tapi due to this COVID-19 crisis into 2020, so the regulator intervened the market by putting batas atas, batas bawah for the depreciation and appreciation. So in Indonesian stock, the stock will not appreciate, ya, tidak akan naik more than 35% or 25%, ya, depend on the price of the stock. If it is below 200 rupiah, then kenaikan maximum up to 35%. If it is higher than 200 ringgit, 200 rupiah, the price of the stock, then the maximum increase in a day should not exceed 25%. We call ARA, atas, auto reject atas. On the other hand, yeah, the auto reject bawah, the stock after the crisis, yeah, has been designed in such a way that the drop of stock in a particular day in Indonesia will not more than 7%. Jadi saham itu kalaupun jatuh, Mas Firman, dia tidak akan melebihi 7%. Tapi kalau naik, dia boleh sampai 25 atau sampai 35, depending on the harga of the stock. This one of the mitigation mechanism put forward by the regulator to ensure that the asset management, that the investment punya instrument like stock will not fall dramatically, yeah, significantly in one point of time that may collapse the market. Yeah, it is unlike perhaps other market like in Malaysia, Dow Jones and so on, yang they didn't put certain punya ini. Of course, some of the region put dia punya ARB, auto reject bawah, but very very deep, very large punya drop, so that they will not reach the threshold. But in Indonesia, in the worst case, dalam kondisi paling buruk sekalipun, your share will not drop more than 7% in one day. So for that matter, we have a strong regulatory punya preparation and readiness, and we have learned from the previous recession, 3 times punya consecutive punya crisis last 2 years, but we sustain, and we will sustain inshallah in the future with better and faster recovery. The third one is how, apalah lupa betul juga kata Mas Firman, kenapa baca satu-satu.
Or ganti pertanyaan, or next change any question? Change the
Digital ya. Okay, let me respond to the digital punya digital punya trend ya. So normally I believe the digitalization now is unavoidable in the Islamic financial market as part of the global, as part of the integral global financial market. So we can see the movement from banking. Some license have been granted by the regulator in Indonesia and Malaysia to have a license of Islamic digital banking. We can also see the development of Islamic digital insurance, tech insurance, including the emerging of Islamic venturing, Islamic digital venturing company. The financial market, stock market, asset management is not without exception. Now we are expecting more robo advisory coming in the future. We have some platform offering this kind of digital investment where the system has been designed in such a way that you can just put an instruction and then they will basically manage your investment portfolio automatically using the robo advisor like Wahid, like Wahid punya platform. Ada beberapa company yang kemudian juga offering the robo advisor for the asset management. So you just put your fund into this platform like Wahid, and then you put certain punya criteria when you want to sell, when you want to keep, and then they will also assess your level of risk and they will advise accordingly. And then you just close your platform. The robo advisor will manage your fund remotely without any human intervention. So, and digitalization is unavoidable in the Islamic financial landscape. As an integral part of the financial system globally, including in the Islamic investment and Islamic fund management. Fund manager will be, of course, replaced with the robot later on, and now they started with this. So the role of fund manager to advise you to buy, to sell, to hold will no longer be relevant moving forward, because there are some robo advisor now will play a role of fund manager moving forward, and this will come along the times. Even the Sharia advisor to some extent later on will be replaced with the role of robot. Where I think last 2-3 years we have seen the introduction of algebra, the world first Sharia robo advisor to advise you on Sharia compliant issues and structure, using the technology. So of course this is unavoidable, where the intervention of human factor will be minimized significantly now and beyond. Now and beyond. Even now the asset, the form of investment will also evolve into more digital. Last time when we talked about asset, it is always what they call referring to the tangible asset that you can see, you can touch, you can bring, you can move, you can smell. Yeah, asset management normally deal with the something which is tangible in nature. There is a company, there is a project, there is a tangible asset in the form of gold, currency, silver, whatsoever that you have. But now with the digitalization, yeah, even the asset now has been very much digitalized. Of course, now we know the currency, yeah, digital currency, call it cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, igrams, and other form of digital currency. But we have also digital token or digital asset, where this asset, yeah, is in the form of digital. You recognize it as asset, but there is no tangible and physical appearance. You can only see it in the form of figure or number. Yeah, NFT, non-fungible token, metaverse is one aspect of this. Yeah, that you can also later on consider you to invest in this form of digital asset, digital token. Even now, we have the development of digital equity, digital stock. So stock does not only represent the underlying company, the underlying project, but it's also represent the underlying technology in the form of digital equity, even the digital certificate of value. So everything now move toward that kind of digital. That's why I remember the statement of a former president of FinTech Association in Malaysia. He said very interesting observation and forecasting. He said that 10 years later, you can see the banking as a rule, as a financial intermediary, but you may not see a banker or even the infrastructure, the building. Ya, 10 tahun yang akan datang mungkin kita masih melihat perbankan sebagai sebuah sistem keuangan, sistem lembaga keuangan intermediasi. Tapi mungkin tidak banyak kita akan menemukan bankir atau bahkan cabang-cabang perbankan, because it has been converted into more digital. The building, the headquarter, the branches, the ATM, whatsoever now move toward this on device, the smartphone. This the future direction of Islamic financial institution, with the direction of the financial system at large, that we cannot avoid it. So we have to be ready and prepared for that matter. Okay. 2, 3, I forgot the question. But you have another question, you can. Over to you. How does asset management, what is the question number 2, number 3?
Number two, how does asset management in development efforts to enrich the monetary side in the developing countries, especially in Indonesia? And third question, what are the prospects for Sharia investment in Indonesia in the future?
Yeah, prospect. Let me start with the prospect. The prospect of Islamic fund management, of course, first, Indonesia is the world's largest Muslim population. People always see Indonesia is a sleeping giant. It's a giant that is still sleeping. But now I believe the giant is already waking up. In fact, the number now tell that our ranking in terms of the global asset, yeah, from the financial sector to the real sector, halal sector, economy sector, is moving toward promising direction, and to some sector we are number 1. So the prospect is huge, and if you don't still have the CDS account until now, I think it is time for you to open the account and invest in Indonesia. And of course, as Islamic finance proponent, I urge you only to invest in Sharia compliant stock, Islamic investment, Islamic fund, because I believe first it is more profitable, and based on the number, the performance of Islamic stock normally outperform the performance of the conventional one. And we have still wider investable universe, because there are some conventional stock that will be further classified into Sharia compliant moving forward. And as you can see, the global market will be, the global economy will be in recession, as predicted by so many people, be it in 2023 or 2024. Then we can be prepared to invest in bad condition. So the best time for investing, for managing your fund, is in bad time. You seek the you what they call, you plan in bad time, in the time of crisis, and then you will seek the fruit in the good time. Ya, jadi investasi terbaik itu, Pak Firman, itu adalah ketika krisis. Because why? Because most of the asset management, fund management, instrument are at the discount punya price. It's discounted price. So the price in most cases does not reflect the value of the company, the value of the project. It is dropped due to the global condition, sentiment, rumor, and other. So it does not reflect, we call book value, book value, or what, and other punya indicator, like misalnya adalah takutlah ketika orang lain merasa serakah, dan serakahlah ketika orang lain merasa takut. Jadi ketika orang lain takut untuk invest because the crisis is coming, then this is where you have to be greedy. But when everybody is greedy, because the market is very good, is in uptrend condition, then you need to be fearful, to be fear. Because why? Because the downturn will come. Okay. That's all.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Ali. We have finished the Q&A session. Thank you very much, Dr. Ali, for sharing.
Maybe we can open the question from the floor, or is it the question from the participant, or if they have any question, if they want to ask directly, huh?
Okay, maybe the audience, any question to Dr. Ali? Maybe any question for the audience to Dr. Ali?
So participants are mostly student, student
Mostly
of UMM.
student.
I see.
Mostly student at UMM.
At UMM.
Yeah.
Okay. But how about the participant from outside, from Turkey, from Malaysia, and other? Is it student or they are lecturer?
From Turkey, culture, and from maybe Pervis Rustemov.
From
maybe
where?
not student at UMM.
I see. Okay.
Sania Bojang, international student from Gambia.
In UMM.
Yeah.
I hope that the explanation is clear. It's understandable. By the student. Yeah. It's not too fast to explain the issue.
Maybe the audience open mic for the question to Dr. Ali.
But if no, I think we can end our session, inshallah. I hope that the participant can benefit from our sharing session. My apologies for any shortcoming. Inshallah, we'll see you again in other occasion, virtually or
maybe no, sir.
offline.
In the chat, maybe no, sir.
Maybe no, sir. Yeah. Okay. So I assume that if there is no further question, everybody is happy and understand with the explanation.
The audience, maybe nothing. Okay, thank you for your explanation, Dr. Ali.
My pleasure.
So we have finished to the Q&A session. Thank you very much for sharing experience and attending of the course. And we are very grateful to have you here. It's enough for the course today. Thank you very much for join and see you the next week international course. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Dr.
Thank you,
Ali.
Dr. Firman. Thank you. My
Maybe
apologies
you
for not
can-
coming.
You can
Inshallah.
visit in UMM.
Sure. Nanti saya kontak Mbak Dewi. Mbak Dewi is here?
Happy or Dewi?
Mbak Happy ya? Mbak Febri.
Oh, Febri,
Febri
happy
ya?
ya, happy. Happy.
Thank you, brother. Mbak Febri, yes, Mbak Febri.
Yeah,
Dia dosen.
Febri.
Ada di sini. Tak join ya?
Not join because
How many